Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. My name is Shelley, and today I'm joined by some of our counselors from ISB. We're very fortunate to have a number of counselors as well as psychologists on our team, and we're pleased to have three of them with us here today to really just talk about social and emotional well-being at this time during COVID-19 and also this transition to virtual school. So firstly, I'd just like for them to each introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Kate Kersey, and I am the counselor currently in the elementary school that works with kindergarten, grade 1 and grade 2. I've been a school counselor internationally for about 15 years now and have worked extensively with children from the age of 3 till about 5th grade.
Hi, my name's Jackie Valenzuela, and I'm one of the high school counselors here at our school. I've been a school counselor now for 8 years, and prior to that, I was a mental health therapist in private practice and worked specifically with adolescents.
Hi, I'm Ryan Rule. I'm the school psychologist for the middle and high school. I have been in education about 20 years now, and 15 of those have been in counseling psychology, and then before that, I was a teacher, elementary school teacher.
Great, thank you all for giving us your time today. So Kate, firstly, could you tell us what are some of the key challenges that you think individuals will be facing at this time in the face of COVID-19 and over the next few months?
Sure. Well, as we know, life is different. Schools are shut. Life is just not the same. So there are going to be a number of challenges that families and individuals and students are going to be facing. I think first and foremost is the just general anxiety that we have over the virus, and worry about if we're going to get it, if friends get it, if family back home gets it. Another issue is just a constant access and overexposure to news about COVID-19. Along with how life has changed, we're facing social distancing, and we are not, with our colleagues, we are not able to visit our friends, and our children are also facing this. They're not having the play dates. They're not hanging out with friends like they have been. We are social beings, and humans thrive on social connection, and that lack of social connection can be a real challenge. Another challenge is working from home while also supporting your child through virtual school. That is its own set of challenges that families are facing right now. And then and the last one that I was thinking about was just the uncertainty that we are all facing about what lies ahead, how this is going to impact school, how much longer we're going to be out of school, how this might impact our summer plans, being able to visit family. So those are some of the challenges I think that are facing families.
I guess I would just add, I think Kate brings up most of the points that come to mind. I think, for adolescents particularly, all of us as humans are so geared towards connection. And so I think it is incredibly difficult to manage, and there's no blueprint. It's difficult anytime we don't know what's coming next. That uncertainty piece is very, very difficult to manage. And, we're all sort of juggling many, many different tasks and roles that maybe we aren't prepared for. Parents as teachers as online virtual teachers, and kids trying to respond, being isolated and feeling isolated. So I think that's something that we can talk about a little bit later, about how to deal with that and how to set up some routines and ways to make it the best that we can this time.
Okay, thank you. And Jackie, could you tell us how this might impact children differently across different divisions?
Yeah, I could speak to how this would impact adolescents. Both Kate and Ryan mentioned that need to connect, that we're social beings. And I think for younger children, I'm even seeing this with my own kids, that connection with their parents is really important. They look forward to being done with their learning and then hanging out with you as their parent, or in some ways, sometimes they want you to entertain them. and be that friend for them. With adolescents, it's different. They don't look to their parents typically as their playmate, and their job at the stage of adolescence is to individuate and to become their own person. So that means they're wanting more time away from their parents in a lot of cases. So you can imagine that being in one space together over extended periods of time can sometimes lend itself to more difficult situations and maybe some relationship issues that come up during this time between parents and their children.
Jackie, I think you mentioned most of it. I think one of the challenges that I've heard is creating a routine that works, and it's pacing and sort of thinking about how to make this sustainable. And like I said before, we haven't gone through this in this day and age where we have the ability to connect through technology and the ability to carry on in the face of something like COVID-19. So I think we're building a plane as we're in the air, and we have to be kind to ourselves, and we have to take the time to adjust as we move forward. And I think that's a key piece, and it's difficult because adolescents are wanting to be with their friends, and so talking to them and helping them understand the importance of social distancing is very difficult. But I think also just the piece of being able to connect with technology does help in a lot of ways. At the same time, it's always balancing how much screen time they have, how much time they're engaged online, and then also creating that downtime. So it's a lot of pressure on parents, and difficult for adolescents for sure.
And I think for younger kids, like Jackie and Brian already said, that for younger kids, the relationship piece is like friendship piece is kind of a minor piece, because the parents are the most important relationship for little kids. But the way this is going to impact little kids is really how parents are managing and coping. If parents aren't managing and coping well, the children aren't going to manage and cope well. Children are little sponges. They take their cues from the adults in their life. So I think that's going to be the biggest impact on young children. And you'll see that play out in young children's behavior. You might see a regression. They might not be able to do, like, maybe they start wetting the bed again and they haven't been wetting the bed, or maybe they're using baby talk. They might be super clingy. Maybe they might be more defiant, more emotional, easy to cry. Maybe you're noticing a difficulty in sustaining attention in the virtual school tasks. That's how I think all of this might be impacting younger children. Yeah, I think younger children are also going to start to realize slowly how this is going to impact birthday parties, how this might impact, like summer plans, if they were supposed to go visit grandma or go to summer camp. So that might also be an impact for them. Lastly, younger kids don't have the language to express what's happening for them in their bodies and their minds. And they don't have the cognitive and the emotional ability to really understand what's happening.
And, I think on that, I think even as adults, that seems to be, quite hard at the moment, just to really express all the range of feelings that come from the situation that none of us have really experienced before. And I think with our families as well, being such a diverse mix and with different levels of effect happening in their home countries, you just see a lot of that. People are dealing with so many different types of emotions at the moment, it seems.
Definitely. Yeah, and I think it's interesting. I want to tag on to what Kate said about younger kids look to their parents kind of as that model for how things are going emotionally and how they should act, or, the parents set the tone. I think when you have adolescents in the home, oftentimes they set the tone in the home. And so that reaction is different when you have an adolescent. And I think a lot of times parents with adolescents find themselves being very focused on how do I deal with Johnny or Susie's moods related to this, or and so I think it becomes more external for parents on their adolescent and how to deal with that, versus with the parent of a younger child, they're having to look inward about being that role model. Not that you don't have to do that for your adolescents, but you're also having to look externally a lot as well, which can be, if you have both in the home, if you have a younger child and an adolescent, that's a lot of juggling that you're doing as a parent. So kudos to you as parents.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to the topic of ISB virtual school and that transition for families, Ryan, would you mind talking a bit about some of the challenges and some of the positives that you see coming from this move to virtual school?
Sure. I think right away, some of the challenges that I've heard of is just, again, the human connection. That's just probably the most obvious challenge, is it presents a barrier. And I think there are several pieces in that are other barriers. For example, just being able to, make a comment, share something, it all takes a lot more time for teachers, for kids, for parents. And, it's reliant on getting onto a schedule, having a solid internet connection, being able to make several clicks just to be able to be in the same virtual classroom. So just there's some technological pieces. Probably the biggest piece, though, is kids miss each other. And so that time to be able to connect even online for a little bit, it's really interesting to watch. And I think that's a big positive, is they're able to see each other and interact that way. So, and that's something that's a nice way for people to connect. I think also just in school live, there are a lot of structures that are built in, periods, people being able to have their things organized. So just being able to help kids manage the time, manage their materials, ask questions in a live environment, look to others for what to do next. Some kids really struggle with that piece in the virtual environment, and I've heard quite a few parents struggling with that too. Is how do I set up those kinds of routines? So I guess some of the positives is that they have the chance to be in that environment and connect. Also, there's time at home. So time after connecting, maybe they're cooking or reading or playing games or something that is a little bit different than being at school. Sleeping in a little bit, perhaps.
A friend of mine shared with me an analogy of this time as seeing this time as like a metamorphosis, right? Like we don't know what's going to happen, but I see this as being a big agent of change in me as a human being. And I'm seeing this time of virtual school and social distancing as cocooning, and potentially this could be changing us as how we parent, how we shop, how we work, how we live our lives in a good way, right? I'm saying like this is a very positive thing that could come out of this. And I think ultimately during this cocoon, we have the choice. We have the choice to focus on the scary parts, the negative parts, or we have the choice to focus on what brings us joy. And if we focus on that, we could come out of this cocoon as butterflies, beautiful creatures that have gotten better, improved upon. So I kind of like thinking about it that way, that this is a gift that we've been given that has some sharp edges for sure and doesn't feel good all the time. But this time that we have with our children, we're never going to have this time ever again to learn with them. So I'm trying to see this personally as an adventure, as a gift, and really focusing on what brings me joy.
Okay, thank you. Jackie, would you like to add anything?
Oh, just, I mean, echoing what they're saying, that I think that probably in our, I don't know for sure, but probably in our lifetime, this will go down as the biggest event, or certainly top 5 in our life, top 3, top 2 for our entire family. And I think perspective and looking back, we will be able to take the good and the bad during this time and use it in our life to inform how we move forward with our kids, with our family, with our community. And I think that that's really, really important for us to keep that in mind, and to know that we're in the thick of it right now, but we are going to come out of the other side. And I know that, I mean, in my own home, there have been difficult days and there have been really good days. The highs have been high and the lows have been low, but I wouldn't trade it. And I do think those highs and lows, we will come back to those times because they'll have been pivotal in some way in our family's story and in our life together. So I wouldn't want to do COVID-19 again, and I wouldn't wish this on our planet again, but here we are. And I hope that as families, we can find a way to grow and change as a result of this experience.
Okay, great. Thank you. Given this time, what advice can you give to our parents?
Yeah, really good question. So I'll go first. I think for younger kids, it's important, as I said before, our kids are little sponges, and they're picking up on everything that parents and older siblings are talking about. I once worked with an amazing counselor who shared with me, children are amazing observers, but really poor interpreters, meaning they see everything that's going on, but they are making kind of wonky connections between what they're hearing and what they're seeing, and sometimes misunderstand what they're hearing and seeing. So I think the first thing I would share is teach children about COVID-19 in developmentally appropriate language. Reassure them that they are safe. Reassure them that it is their parents and their adults in their life, it's their job to make sure that they are safe. And teach children what they can do to stay safe. Sometimes when we get inundated with all of this information, we can feel quite helpless. And one way to change that and move it more into action is teaching children what they can do to stay safe. Another piece of advice would be to keep it simple. Really be gentle on yourselves, be gentle on yourselves as parents, be gentle on your children. This is a big transition. Emotions are high. So if we can just be as gentle as possible and really set realistic expectations about virtual school. Children don't have to complete everything that is listed every day. As long as they are putting in the guideline, time limit, and the different divisions have different times. That is the most important thing. Teachers just want to see some participation. Take advantage of this time as a family, like we said. Learn something new, explore a new passion, take breaks, distract yourself by watching funny movies. And then I guess the last thing I would share is I read this great article in from the Greater Good Science Center, and they had what they called the universal prescription. And the universal prescription is move, nourish, connect, and be. So those are the 4 kind of basics that they are recommending that we all do right now. So move our bodies. Our bodies need to move. They're not meant to stay in one place all day long. So move at least 20 minutes a day. And that can be in any way that feels good for your body. Nourish, feed our stomachs, feed our souls, feed our minds with nourishing things. That doesn't mean that you have to be eating, a perfectly healthy diet all the time, but just make sure you are feeding and doing nourishing things. Connection is huge. Connect digitally, do digital play dates, do online dinner parties on Zoom. That's the connect piece. And then the be piece is take a moment away from all the virtual school, all the the news about COVID and have a quiet moment. And for you, if that's meditation, that's great. If it's just watching a mindless TV show, that's fine too. But that's that idea of be. So those would be my bits of advice.
Thank you.
I would say with adolescents, I'll just say a little bit here. I think it really is important that they do connect with their parents, that there is, and that may be set of, we're always going to have dinner together while we're in this time, that the expectation is that we have meals together. But I think that in between times, there has to be flexibility with adolescents, because again, they're working so hard to become their own person. It's a developmental need that they have. And so that they're in their room or wherever they need to be to have that space, it's respecting that space. And, I often say to myself and to other parents, less is more with adolescents. So talking less to them and what they see is talking at them, doing that less is better, because it nurtures your relationship with them. It hinders it when you talk at them. So I would encourage parents to give adolescents the space that they need, and just have really clear expectations with, I do expect that we'll be together during this time. And maybe that does become the meal times. And then they are in their room quite a bit. But as long as they're getting their schoolwork done, you're not noticing that it seems like their mental health is slipping or they're becoming down, you can maybe rest assured that they are doing okay, and check in with them during those meal times. And you could have some really rich conversations at that time.
So I guess the only thing I would add, and they may have already said it, both Kate and Jackie answered this question very thoroughly, but I think that piece about less is more and being gentle with ourselves. None of us applied for this job in virtual school and virtual learning, and it's very difficult. And so I think some guidelines and some understanding, looking at really good information and research-based information about teaching about COVID-19 is really key. There's so much out there to consume online and on the television. And so I think that's a really key piece, so we understand what it is that we need to do to be safe. And once that's in place, setting some routines and allowing some of that for adolescents, especially allowing some space, but also it's very easy for any of us to be in our homes, and it's hard to figure out a routine. So I think that what Jackie said about maybe it's the meal time, and thinking maybe of sharing something that went well during the day for everybody, just taking a turn and sharing about something that went well or something they heard that was positive, because a lot of the things we're hearing is uncertainty and negative. So I think that's a key piece. And then the physical part, it's very easy to not be physical. So like Kate said, I think just moving in whatever way that is for yourself, taking care of yourself, taking some space and time, and just remembering less is more. Yeah.
One thing I'd like to share, one of our high school counselors, Kevin, is setting up a platform for our parents and our students in all the divisions, where there will be resources for social emotional well-being.
Thanks very much for all talking to that point. On our final question, it's wonderful that the counsellors are setting up this resource page for everyone. Thank you very much for that, and we'll share it as soon as we have it as well. Are there other resources and advice you can give to parents at this time?
Sure. Yeah. I think that there's so much out there that it's easy to kind of find, but it's easy to kind of get, again, overloaded. I really like the Greater Good Science Center. They have excellent resources and articles on how to manage stress, how to focus on gratitude, very specific to COVID-19. I really like Common Sense Media. They are a great resource, and they have a separate page focused to COVID-19. I have found the CDC website. They have a specific page for parents and supporting your children through stressful times, and supporting, talking to your children about COVID-19 in scientific terms. And of course, I also really like apps like Headspace. It's a mindfulness app. 10% Happier, I think is the other app, something like that. And then of course there's loads of videos and places to go on YouTube, like Cosmic Yoga for Kids. And you can look up Zumba. So there's a lot of resources out there right now. Any others to add, you guys?
The only other one I guess I also love Greater Good Science Center. Lots of great information. I think anytime you're searching for something, just bear in mind if you type in .edu or .org, you tend to get a little bit more valid information, less sensationalized. NASP, which is the National Association for School Psychologists, has some really good resources right now that's come up for parents as well. And then I think the other piece is just reaching out to school counselors and psychologists. Reach out to us. We're happy to help connect you or speak with you or point you in the right direction for whatever need that may come up.
And if you don't know how to contact your school counselor, I would recommend contacting your child's teacher or one of your child's teachers, and they can easily give you the correct school counselor's email address to you.
And then it's really easy for us to go ahead after we receive that email to connect with you via Zoom or via Google Hangouts and talk like we're doing right now virtually. So reach out. We are happy to connect with you and want to connect with you. And just know that we also are doing our best on our end to connect with you and to initiate those contacts.
Yeah, I think it's really important to know that our services we are still providing all of the services that we normally provide, just digitally. So please do reach out to us. We're here to support.
Great. Thank you. And thank you all very much for your time today. I'm sure this will be insightful for our parents and for everyone that's watching. Thanks very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.